All right. Believe everything is set up. Took a little bit because I was finicking with settings. Trying to get a reliable setup here. Oh, I forgot to delete those. Yes. And yes, there we go. All right. I am back and gonna react to some more world news going on. At least things I'm familiar with and things I'm not familiar with. Whew. Woke up with one heck of a heavy throat. Sheesh. Do. All right, I think we're all good to go. Let's lower this. That's perfect. All right, so H3H3. I don't know how many lawsuits he's been involved in. I know there was the one years ago where a content creator sued him for using their content in a video because they basically went over the video and said they just went over his video. The guy didn't like what they had to say, so he sued them. They won the lawsuit like a year and a half later. They were funded by their community from outside, so they were able to get through that lawsuit. It was like very early in H3H3's career. I'm not sure if his wife's still active with the group because I haven't paid much attention to his content. But yeah, I'm gonna see how they're doing now with all this, because apparently now he's suing some moderators that are moderators for a couple different people's groups or something. But oh, actually no, it just says it right down here. Hassan Orbiter's lawsuit. I have no freaking clue who Hassan is, but guess I'm about to find out.
Hi there, my name is Ethan Klein, and my favorite hobby is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers. Today I invite you into my home to share my favorite pastime with you.
You should have donated that dollar, bro.
Generational wealth for my attorney. Let me tell you guys a story.
Oh, he lost a lot of weight.
About a year and a half ago,
wow.
It's a big conversation called ReactGate. ReactGate was a debate going on in the streaming community about what constituted fair use.
Well, your previous lawsuit from like over a decade ago was did establish precedents, because the judge found in favor of you guys, you and your wife, saying what you did before was considered fair use. I mean, you spent a year and a half doing it, so I think we have a good idea of what fair use is after just that lawsuit alone.
People like Hassan, XQC, and many of the large Twitch streamers would watch other creators' entire video on their stream. They would rarely add sufficient commentary or even pause the video to speak. Most egregiously, they would
So this is Hassan. The interesting part about this is I wasn't aware of who Hassan was, but okay, I've seen this guy before. I didn't know what he was about, but reliable commentary, saying they're not doing reliable commentary, it's subjective. Like what I'm doing right now is completely subjective, if it's considered fair use or not. But I like to think that I'm just kind of putting my 2 cents in, going through the video, discussing my points and what I think. But I mean, Asmongold does something very similar. He'll watch videos and he'll respond. But yeah, let's continue.
re-upload the entire VOD to YouTube with the same thumbnail, the same title, so that they could cannibalize traffic from the original video. Here's what Lamino had to say about this phenomenon.
I don't mind people reacting to my videos, but I do mind when they play the entirety of my video. A face cam in the corner or the occasional interruption does nothing to address that issue. My video is still being played from beginning to end in someone else's stream or video. It's neither ethical nor necessary to feature the entirety of someone else's work. Or, they could do the bare minimum and ask for permission. Something that none of the major reaction channels have ever done when they've streamed or re-uploaded my videos. But to answer your question, no, I don't want people to stream or re-upload the entirety of my videos.
Now, understandably, this made a lot of people angry, because why should these content thieves, essentially, get more views than the author of the video, which in a lot of cases was...
Yeah, that happens. Asmongold's a good example, but his editor does edit the video in a way that makes it appealing, so that would definitely be different. I just like throwing my opinion in there. So I respect that he doesn't like it, but this is what content creators do. Now, he doesn't like his whole video being shown and then people pausing just to provide their 2 cents. I get it. It's completely understandable. But what I don't get is that we've had this same situation where Ethan, almost a decade ago, went through the same thing where he put a guy's video up, they played the entire video, and just provided their own commentary over it. There was no edits or anything like that or cuts for that same video, and then that guy proceeded to sue them. But the judge found in favor that it was fair use for them. So I'm just saying, as long as it's commentary that's good and not terrible, like they're just pausing, oh, that's great, pause again, oh, that's awesome, pause again. I'm just like, that's not commentary, my friend. That's not reasonable commentary. So, and heck, I re-upload just parts of the VOD onto my YouTube channel now, but I always credit the original video in the description so people can go and watch it if they want to without watching mine, because mine is just a reaction.
What's happening? I mean, people don't like injustice, and we all see this, and no, it's not right. This debate culminated when XQC, one of the prime suspects, called in to my show to debate me, in which case I'm sad to report that I was terribly owned. So in that regard, do you care at all about like IP or copyright, or like the fact that it's illegal? Does that matter? That it might be illegal, does that...
But H3, Ethan, you had a similar situation years ago where you guys took a video from a guy who made skits, you reacted to it, you and your wife, and then he did the entire video, uploaded it to YouTube, and proceeded to have that said person sue you for over 1.5 years, and you guys fought it through community support, thanks to them providing money for you. So it sounds like to me you have an issue with Asmongold, XQC, and people that react to these streams or these videos of your guys' now. You have a problem with that when you were a victim of that almost a decade ago. My friend, buddy, guy, I used to love your content. I don't anymore. I've moved on since then. But you can't have it. You can't just go, I like it this way, then flip it to 180 and I just like this way, when you were one of the original people who set a precedence with a judge's review on what fair use was, what constituted fair use, and you guys were so relieved to not have just one, and then you proceeded to re-upload the video in its full context. And the YouTuber who attempted to sue you, I don't even know if he's active anymore. I'm just trying to understand from you guys, why is such a problem now than it was then? And based on the context of your video, it sounds like what I just saw Hassan doing was he was just sitting there playing the full video through and just typing down on his phone while playing. And then he apparently must re-upload the whole thing with no context. So, no, I don't agree with that. But what I'm doing, I don't think's a problem. But come on, Ethan. You know you can't just take advantage. I understand you've grown and you've gotten big, but man, you've got to have some actual fundamentals and step back and just say, look, I don't mind people doing this. I hope he doesn't. Like, that's just crazy.
Does that matter to you?
No.
It doesn't matter.
Well, if flat out doesn't, because...
Well, that's fair.
Watch me full screen cam, do the fucking worm, then watch your
do
prime...
That.
Then watch
Bro,
your prime content.
Do it for a week. Do a week of no reaction content and see how many fucking views you get. Oh, okay. Sure.
I mean, that's content, man. It's original content, at least.
The ultimate debate bro. He hit him with the worm. Oh, why didn't I think of that first? I kid XQC, but he is not the one I'm suing. Despite my criticism, he's not a malicious infringer, but the ones I am suing, you'll see, are much, much worse. Now, ironically, after...
Okay, the ones that I'm assuming he's suing, based on this small clip down here in the corner, called Lawyer Explains Ethan Klein versus Hassan Orbiter's lawsuit, I think he's suing these moderators of Hassan. Because I saw the guy's live stream last night, where he explained a few things. And I'm just understanding that apparently they've been harassing him in real life and in Twitter. Now, I want to bring up a valid point here, something that's important. A similar situation happened on Twitter with J.K. Rowling, where a lot of people know that trans people do not like J.K. There's some that do, some that don't. It's a 50-50 field. But they are literally going after JK by posting content, the ones that dislike her, calling her this, calling her names, insulting her. I'm not going to say them here. And as they do so, they come to a boiling point where one specific guy who's always targeted JK calls her a lot of things. Those things then get posted to Twitter. JK has snarky back and forth with this said individual, and finally, after almost a year or so of it going on, JK said she had enough. So she made a post where she said she was going to deal with it, and she did. She sued him. It was filed, but it wasn't necessarily run through, because what ended up happening was this said individual went back to his Twitter, deleted all the posts, deleted all the things he said about JK, and then proceeded to post an apology tweet saying that he apologized for everything he said. This is basically this kind of situation, but I don't think Ethan's going to be as gentle. Because from what I understand, some guy sent a skull in the mail to his home with his kids as like a threat. I'm not sure if it was a threat or something else. Now, reaction content, I don't find there's anything wrong with it, as long as you're providing valid criticism of the thing. I don't think you have to go in and edit a whole bunch of stuff, add a whole bunch of things, but you should at least have like a header, you should at least have an end scene, you should at least have valuable commentary, not just pause, run through the video, and go with it. And Ethan has already been through this, and it seems like to me, just based on how he's talking now, he's forgotten who he was years ago. How he got to this point, because he had this type of lawsuit filed against him, where they reacted to his video, reacted to a YouTuber's video, and proceeded to get sued. They got sued, and if it wasn't for the community outreach, they probably wouldn't have been able to finance it. I hope Ethan is not leaning towards reaction content should be banned, because his video from 10 years ago was that. He was doing things like that, reacting to people's content with just him and his wife's critiques in the video, no valuable edits, and watching the full skits. You got to remember where he came from. Don't push away from it.
This debate, and in the wake of this large conversation, the problem seems to have only gotten worse. You have people like Hassan Piker paving the way of fair use with what's known as chair reacts, when Hassan gets up to go to the bathroom, or to eat, or to talk to his mom, or to do whatever, disappears for an extended period of time.
Okay, so this is what he's referring to, is reaction content, with people just disappearing or not saying anything valid while the video's going through pause sections. They just let it play and they just sit there, la 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 la, like we saw earlier in the very beginning of the video with Hassan literally texting on his phone and not doing anything. I'm like, dude, you sit there, watch it, provide your context, and keep going.
And leaves the video playing for his chair. Mr. Chair, they call it.
IDF had warned people to leave the area around the main airport in Sana. Then this.
Has he done this a lot? Oh, this all was something. Okay. Wow, that's a lot.
This operation will result in killing hostages.
Holy crap. Oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. He's getting up and just leaving? Come on, dude. Oh, he's got a golden retriever. Aw. See him in the background right there. It's a baby puppies. So cute.
Captivity will result in death of the third
Along with his dog.
And it was in this setting that I formulated an idea. What if I could make a long-form, irresistible piece of content that I knew that these streamers couldn't resist, they couldn't avoid the temptation of watching it the second it was published?
I don't have an issue with them. Let's just...
It's not that I wanted these people to steal my video. It's that I knew they would. I knew they would watch the entire video, add little to no commentary, react to it instantly, giving them no time to form an opinion. The trap was set, and it worked even better than I imagined it would. We captured pretty much every large streamer reacting to it in its entirety immediately after it was published. Now the thing is, there were a few people that went above and beyond to commit copyright infringement. For example, Denim sits here silently with nearly 50,000 live viewers. That's 30 times her regular viewership.
Wow.
She's working directly with the Snark sub.
How the hell can you have... Jeez, some of these people. I will say this. A lot of women benefit from these social media. Be pretty and smile. You get thousands of views. It's crazy. Crazy. Also, Ethan, don't sue me. Don't copyright strike me, buddy. I'm not original. I'm an original fan of your content from years ago. I was there when you got sued by that gentleman because you did very similar things with the reaction content. You have a history with this. Let's be fair. Oh boy. Well, my glasses cleaner's not clean. I gotta clean the claw. Well, I'll just plop this down. Plop this down. Let's see what's going on.
Subreddit moderators to siphon views, and their intentions couldn't be clearer. Here's an excerpt from a stickied post from the Snark subreddit. Hey everyone, we've seen a lot of comments about wanting to watch the nuke without showing support for H3. Here's a list of creators who've supported our sub, either by engaging with us directly or citing our post in their critique of H3. Here they're offering these streamers as market substitutes for my work. This is the cardinal sin of copyright infringement. The Snark subreddit has been a frequent and persistent infringer. That's how I knew when this video came out, the Snarkers were going to encourage, promote, and push streamers to commit copyright infringement. I should thank the Snarkers actually. Because of their predictability, they acted like double agents for us, incriminating their favorite streamers and serving them up on a golden platter. So, thank you, Snark. It's one thing for a subreddit to admit it's engaging in copyright infringement, but how do you get the streamers themselves to admit that they're stealing content?
Well,
I'm trying to figure out what level Ethan is saying is stolen. Like, is it what Hassan's doing? And this girl here whose name I have no freaking clue, who watch his content and then don't provide any reliable opinion and just sit there and talk and do nothing? See, maybe Ethan doesn't have a problem with if you're providing reliable content. That maybe he doesn't have a problem with that. My question is, does he have an issue with... I gotta see the whole video. I'll watch it all, see what he has, what his full opinion is. But based on what I'm reading into so far, it seems like he has an issue with reactionary content, period. Like, it shouldn't be allowed, period. And I hope that's not the case, considering his history with this. And that I was also part of that whole thing when he was getting sued, where I watched and saw him have to take down the video, get sued, and go through all that stress. And I hope he understands that not all people are terrible when it comes to this.
Guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime. If you...
I think I get what he means by the views thieving. Because all they're doing is they're one person watching the video, and therefore YouTube will only view it as one view. But because of that, when they take it and they run with it, and a bunch and like thousands of other people are watching it, but they don't get any of those views, I can see the annoyance there.
You like the content if you enjoy.
But I don't think he has a problem with Asmongold doing it. Maybe not. I don't know. Because Asmon provides very reliable commentary when he's talking. I may not agree with all of it, but he does.
Your time here.
It turns out they just do it for you. You couldn't cook up a more incriminating statement if you tried. Denim's the queen of self-owning. You prevail again. There's one thing about copyright you should know is that you got to register it before you publish to be eligible for statutory damages and attorney's fees, which is the main biting force of a copyright infringement lawsuit. Well, I'm happy to tell you guys now, I, Ethan Klein, have registered Hassan Piker Content Nuke with the United States Library of Congress. Some of you guys out there sweating? Even though theoretically I could sue a lot more creators and rake in millions of dollars, but the purpose of this is not financial gain. People like XQC and Asmongold may have watched the entire thing, but I would never sue them just for doing that. I don't want to chill the reaction community into fear. Actually, the opposite. I hope that we can all unite against this type of egregious behavior that not only makes us all look bad, but could...
Oh, so his wife's still active. Unless she's staying at home with the kids most of the time. I have no idea. Because I was curious if she was still active or not. Most of his clips just showed him talking. I'm curious if his wife is still active with the group. And she's still wearing the hat, too. Remember, she would do the sunglasses hat a lot. She was doing that a lot. Even in the past. So, it's nice to see. Now, based on his response here, he's not attacking every reactionary YouTuber. So, we'll see what happens.
Destroy the commentary community as we know it.
Well, guys,
But I feel like he's doing more than just suing them. I feel like this is also direct because of the harassment he's received. Because this probably wouldn't have bothered him so much if they didn't overly call him out and call threats towards him. So, on Twitter, and send stuff to his actual house. Those people are insane. How can you do that? It's like some of these people don't have the ability to just think for themselves. Like, there are some crazy fans out there.
if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime.
The state of reaction content on Twitch is so broken, these creators feel comfortable looking right into...
Oh, I'm not doing it on Twitch. I hate Twitch. I don't go on there anymore. I utilize YouTube and Kick, and that's it. I'm not a fan of Twitch. Twitch is like... It's irritating because of the saturation that's going on there. I can't watch it. There's too many of these porn streamers that I just cannot deal with. Because every time I go on there, the first thing that I'll see in my feed is a bunch of Asian girls with half bikinis or doing hot tub whatever. And I know they've changed their TOS each time, but man, they keep finding ways to break it. Or there's these streams where they lure people in, where they're saying they're going to be wearing something. It's a beautiful girl or woman, and they're coming in there and they literally just sit to the side and keep saying, "We'll be there in a sec. Don't worry, we're coming on." And it's like 3 hours in. And these people click the damn thing to go watch it. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Jeez.
...into a camera and saying outright, "Hey, I'm stealing this guy's content. Pay me instead of him." This is not a healthy environment. And with people like Hassan reacting to entire TV shows on stream, my fear is that Sony or Disney comes along, sues everybody, and sets a devastating precedent that could endanger our entire field. Now, before I tell you who the 3 people I'm suing are, I just want to make it clear that they all met this very specific high bar of criteria that I set.
Okay, so he won't have an issue with me doing this. That's good. Because you had me worried, Ethan. You had me worried. Because I remember all those... I remember 10 years ago when you had that problem. All right. Let's continue.
Forth earlier. These people were not targeted based on their gender, their identity, their political beliefs. All 3 are on this list. In fact, they're the only 3, as far as I could tell, that reacted to the full video. Drum roll, please. Who's sweating at home, guys? Casey Tron. the queen of ripping farts and bong loads.
They do musicals. They're very musical people. I know. Are you being serious? Dog, what do you look? You think I made this?
Frogan, who blessed her
Jeez,
soul,
she coughing a
she's
lot.
still rising.
Can I walk away and use the bathroom? Do I have permission?
Do you have permission?
Can I use the bathroom, please? I'll leave it playing.
These people. This is their way to get views, while not giving views to the actual original content creator. I go as far as, if I upload the VOD, I always provide an original link to the original video in the description for people to go back to, so they don't have to watch my crap if they don't want to watch it. This is something special.
Apparently thinks Twitch is liable for me interviewing a Yemeni teenager who's only known
Get
genocide
some
his
odd
entire life.
people in chat posting
And
things.
Denim's the queen of self-owning. And my God, is she the queen of that?
It's very obvious from the way that guy's talking, he's a Sneeko fan.
Oh my god, bro, I love.
Who the heck is Sneeko? I'm not familiar with some of these content creators. I'm just not, because I've stayed off Twitch. I tried streaming there years ago, and I got nowhere because it was so saturated. I would always get bots in my chat. I would always get people that were posting porn links. I'm like, dude, I got tired of it.
Love you, hostage. Can I give you a hug, bro?
I'm so sweaty, bro.
I love you, bro.
None of the hostages that have been released so far have said that they have been raped. The hostages have public statements. You can go look at them.
The sexual assault I experienced should never happen to any human being.
This Yemeni kid is just a Yemeni kid with a gun and is not a Houthi, and there is no proof of him being a Houthi.
Are you a soldier? Yes. That seems pretty definitive.
He never said Hassan Nasrallah was a good guy.
I can't believe I'm calling Nasrallah base. I mean, listen.
Now for the fun part.
What is Hassan's content exactly? And because these other two just look like they're doing the same thing Hassan does with leaving the chair. But are they all part of the same group? Because the link down here says Hassan Orbiters. I don't know.
Let's take a look at the complaints, and let's start with my favorite of the three, the very own, the prestigious, the highly acclaimed, the highly analytical Caseytron.
A lot of people have been wanting to watch this without necessarily supporting Ethan Klein. So we're gonna watch it.
Did I just hear that right? They want to watch it without supporting it. Wow. Guys, I'm only going to say this once, and I'm probably going to say it. Go back and watch the original video instead of watching my reactive content on my VOD, if you want to. But wow.
Well, that's a really dumb thing to say, don't you think? Why are you so...
Yeah, you just incriminated it. Like, she literally incriminated herself when she said that.
comfortable? We've given each complaint a clever little title, and here's Caseytron's. She smoked more than she spoke. Caseytron smokes 42 times during her reaction. And just as a silly thought experiment, we thought, wouldn't it be funny if she spent more time smoking than she did talking? And thinking there was no way that that could be true. Well, we tallied them up, and lo and behold, there's 15 minutes 40 seconds of commentary versus 18 minutes and 55 seconds of smoking. She spent 3 minutes and 15 seconds longer smoking than she did talking in her quote-unquote reaction. And whatever talking she did was just to express how confused she was, presumably from smoking 42 times.
What is happening?
The fact Ethan counted how many times she smoked means he watched the entire video. I wouldn't have expected that, but hey, teach their own.
Trying to follow. I've lost the plot.
The complaint continues. Indeed, Caseytron is often too obliterated to comment on the nuke. And
too obliterated. Oh man.
instead stares blankly at her computer screen. In a span of 2 hours and 7 minutes, Casey Tron smokes marijuana, frequently in highly concentrated forms through vaporizers.
Fun fact, they released the longitudinal study for vaping. It is worse for you than smoking. Just so you know.
On 42 separate occasions. At one point, Casey Tron is so wasted that she states, quote, "What is happening? I'm trying to follow, but I've lost the plot." To give you an idea, the majority of her commentary comes down to this.
I don't understand this bit that he's doing.
He's read more books than you could ever imagine.
He did. He sat down, watched the whole video, and then proceeded to post the entire count.
Yeah, I'm just coming out of Qatar.
What the hell
you
is
kids
going
love anime,
on?
right?
I'd speed it up a bit.
More books than you could ever imagine.
What is happening? I'm trying to follow. I've lost the plot.
You lost a lot, including your sanity. Good lord.
They do musicals. They're very musical people. I know. Are you being serious? Dog, what do you look? You think I made this? This isn't a music video, Hassan.
And as dumb as all of that is, this is the part that really got her sued.
A lot of people have been wanting to watch this without necessarily supporting Ethan Klein.
Right there. You just incriminated yourself. Like, why? Why do they think that's okay? Reaction content's been around for a long time. Ethan was even doing it before, because he reacted way back then to quite a few videos. But, like, this is crazy to me that this is where we're at. That people are doing this on their Twitch just to get them, just to make sure the original video doesn't get views and they don't get the ad revenue, which is not right.
Without necessarily supporting Ethan Klein.
Yeah.
So we're gonna watch it. What the fuck is going on here?
Stating outright that her intention of doing this is so that people who don't want to support me can watch it through her is why copyright infringement laws exist. You could not and should not do that, especially if your commentary consists of you taking bong loads. At least try to.
I did forget Ethan can be funny. Oh, man.
Engage with the content. Whoa, what was that? Oh, sorry. That was a flying star. It almost got me. You know her and you love
The good
her,
old
guys.
The more you know.
Frogan.
I don't know who that is.
Reaction by exiting. Here she is getting up to leave the video running as she steps out of the room. Is that transformative? I guess the judge will decide.
Yeah, you're, when you got sued that all those years ago, and the judge ruled in your favor, they called it transformative content and constituted fair use.
Said, quote, "It's time to watch the new Nuke ethically. Hell yeah." Huh. Very smart to say on camera, by the way. She said, quote, "Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate everyone's support. And thank you for watching it with me." Well, you are so welcome, and I'm so glad that you were able to enjoy that day. Her commentary is so non-existent that even her own fans begin to call her out.
Don't have anything to say? Dude, because he's just...
So that... He went on the British guy's show and did a debate with him, apparently. All right.
cycling the same fucking points over and over again. What more commentary do you need on him repeating the same fucking points for the whole first hour and 1 minute and 32 seconds? It's been the same shit over and over again. This video could have been condensed into 20 fucking minutes.
Oh boy. I see the cat in the background and I feel sorry for it being owned by said person.
Like what?
I mean, it's probably well taken care of. It looks happy. Looks comfortable.
What commentary do you want me to add by like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot, he's mentally ill, and he's having a mental breakdown and uploaded it to fucking YouTube? Are you gonna make at least one good point? What do you want me to make a point on?
Oh, I forgot. She also said, "Can I use the bathroom, please? I'll leave it playing. You may use the bathroom."
Why do people do this? God, man. I swear, if I had anywhere the level of communities that these people had, I would be flabbergasted, but I don't. Not even close. And I've been creating since 2017. I haven't gotten anywhere near that.
From Frogan, although I don't advise it.
Can I use the bathroom, please? I'll leave it playing.
This into your stomach. And let me state the obvious. Jew and
Apparently thinks Twitch is liable for me interviewing a Yemeni teenager who's only known genocide his entire life.
What happens?
well, you just pause it. That's it. You just pause the video, right? Like you get up and you go to the bathroom. You just pause it. They should be watching for you.
If they're Hassan orbiters, wouldn't he be suing Hassan too?
But if you get up to go to the bathroom and they keep watching my video, they're clearly not watching for you, right? As lazy and pathetic as her reaction is, this is not why she's getting sued. This is.
Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate everyone's support. And thank you for watching it with me. First time viewer, time to watch the nuke ethically? Hell yeah. I found my way from Reddit. Hi guys, welcome Reddit people. Reddit people, Reddit people.
Reddit people, yeah. No thank you. They're not all bad, but I can promise you this, they're not all good. Not at all.
Oh, I came from the H3 Snark Reddit. Ethan is so pathetic while Hassan is in Japan on bother having a great time. Exactly. We're gonna watch it live, yes. He doesn't want people to know when it's dropping because we're all watching through other streamers. And I suggest you all watch it through other people as well.
It's the stated malicious intent to steal. They talk about watching ethically, but I learned not to steal when I was 5. Up next is...
True you did. And one of your very famous things from the past set precedent. Good stuff.
Denims.
Denims! This is the one I've been hearing about the most.
And honestly, just take a look at this, guys. It's a nightmare on Denim Street. Not only did she chair react, but she was kind enough to write her name right at the top just so that we knew that she was stealing my content and it was her room and nobody else's. Judge, did you know that we're on Denim Street right now? Here's some quotes from Denims. We're relying on you to stay live so we don't have to give the nuke views. Yeah, I'm gonna stream it. Since he's confirmed it's coming out today, I'm gonna stream it. That is very explicit. Denim said, quote, well guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, give me a follow, subscribe, throw a prime if you like my content. Your content? The Queen of Self...
Oh boy. Okay. This is not okay. Do not do this. Do not steal people's content without reliable commentary or valid edits. It's as simple as that. Don't do that. People are doing a lot of stuff and being lazy about it. Like, I'm curious how they built their community in the span that they did and then proceed to become this type of person. Or maybe they were always this type of person. This is nuts. How is it okay for them to get away with that and not think they'd have any repercussions for that action? I don't know. I don't think they understand that they shouldn't be doing stuff like this.
Self-own included a countdown timer so we could tell exactly how long she was away. After being gone for a few minutes, she returns and then sits silently for another couple of minutes eating.
I'm gonna go pee, and hopefully, when I'm back, they're done with this.
Jeez, the blatant... Oh my gosh. And look, right here. Lolly enjoyer? You can't post this kind of slander on somebody without any valid proof. You can't do that.
Right?
You do look better.
Mr. 305. I see it.
Dude, you should do this.
I have an alternate.
We're relying on you to stay live so we don't give more views on the nuke. Yeah, I'm gonna stream it. Since he confirmed it's coming out today, we're gonna stream it. If you want to watch it with someone else who's already watching it, you know, come enjoy the watch party somewhere else. If you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow.
Be right back. Hey, weirdo. Ooh, excuse me. Alright, I'm back. Sheesh.
Subscribe, throw a prime if you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here. Because I'm going to be honest, I did not want to watch that by myself.
You didn't watch it at all. Like, you looked at it, and that was it. As you just disappeared. His response is 100% predicted. Number 1, says it's bad, say everyone thinks it's bad. 2, call me dumb, very hurtful from my former friend. 3, wait for your friends to clip tiny moments from the video to avoid interacting with any major criticism. 4, and this is the most important, never watch the video. Too risky. Can't believe he called me dumb, though. What? God, they're incriminating themselves. Well, there's plenty of VOD information on it, so...
Let me also commercialize it by asking you to reward me financially for stealing his content. That is like chef kiss. By the way, Denims had a very successful stream. She had 43,000
Wow.
people watching her live. Take a look at the title of her Twitch stream. Ethan Klein Hassan content watch party. A watch party? I don't think that's fair use. Now, Denims, of course, always delivering the goods. She went on this dude's podcast to debate fair use. And would you be surprised if I told you she said a lot of incriminating things in that podcast? The queen of self-own never disappoints.
First of all, fair use is not something regular people should be talking about unless you're an actual lawyer who focuses on copyright, or even an attorney at law, or possibly even a judge. You shouldn't be talking about copyright law and fair use as if you understand it, because it's interpreted in judgments by the judges after they make a ruling. And Ethan Klein's previous lawsuit from 10 years ago, where he and his wife got sued, was a good example of the judge fighting in favor of fair use and transformative content, which is what they did. That's the only thing you can go on. People who try to talk about fair use but have no experience with it. Ethan can talk about it. He's had a ton of experience with it. Lawyers, they can talk about it because if that's their field of specialty, definitely. Some lawyers, they don't specialize in that area, but they understand the nuances to the law. But man, if someone went on a podcast who's not a lawyer, has no experience with it, and goes on there and talks about it, like, this is fair use, it has to be. Oh boy.
I want to be clear on my opinion on like filler content and stuff. Like, I think filler content, like, you shouldn't do it. I know I do it as a React stream, and I try to do it only when I do it with like Vox videos or Vice videos. And
but you don't do it. You don't actually do it reactive content, because your reactive content is quite literally you just reacting to someone else's content with no opinion, no edits, no transformation to it. Thanks, Bree. Appreciate it. Or Bry. Bree or Bry. Unless the E's silent. But she's literally doing that. That is shocking to me. That is shocking to me. How do these people get away with this? Oh, there's a lot of cheese going on. I'm just trying to understand how some of these people get away with this kind of stuff. Because that's not transformative or fair use. I'm not an expert, but I do remember the lawsuit that Ethan Klein went through with that old YouTuber way back when.
And stuff like that, because at least I'm not like directly ripping from one content creator and not like a whole team and stuff. And most of
I love Ethan. The way he just no, because you literally disappear. You'll not even watch it. You just disappear from your chair and run it through. I hope Twitch and Kick and YouTube make some adjustments to their videos and stuff where they literally don't allow people to get away with that. I really do. Where they say it has to have valid criticism, some transformation to it, and other things. Like Tectone does the same stuff. He's a streamer that I've watched before, and he does it on YouTube. Now, I don't know how much of his stuff is critiqued, but it at least has valid opinions where he stops the video and he talks to his chat. Though it's hard to talk to a chat that's flying.
So those videos have like 5 million views. I only get like 500 viewers. I'm taking maybe 50 views from the video. It's a lot harder to
No. You had 43,000 in that one.
feel like, I guess, bad about that. Whereas like I would feel very bad about doing that to like a single content creator. The majority of people say that they literally wouldn't watch Hell's Kitchen unless I was streaming it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm reacting hard enough. You know, I'm sure if you click on a random part in the video, I might not be saying anything, sure, whatever. And I might walk away from the screen. But it's about like the
My cat's
thing.
underneath
It's why
me.
like fucking Toast started
He's
streaming
looking up at me like,
Death
give me
Note.
attention.
It's not about the actual show at a certain point. It's the same reason you watch shows with your friends. You want to watch it with other people. A lot of people go to watch streamers on Twitch for their react content almost as a curator. So
But you don't react, though. These 3 people that he's shown us that he's suing, and it's shocking to me Hassan's not on there, but okay. But they're doing their Hassan orbiters, as he calls them, and I'm just curious how he's, how this person in their mind thinks they're doing reactive content when all they do is disappear from their chair. I gotta go pee. Then pause the video and come back. You can't just sit there, not do anything, and not make any responses. It's not right. It really isn't.
they don't actually want to go through YouTube themselves and watch a bunch of videos, and they probably never will go through YouTube and click a bunch of videos. They like going to Twitch because they like to have it as like, this streamer is curating fun content that I want to watch.
Look, I'm sure
From the people that I've talked to, the people who watch Twitch content are specifically there to watch it so they don't have to scroll through YouTube and find a video they like.
Honestly, I think the majority of them are coming to some of these people not because they don't want to view it on YouTube. It's because they're just addicted. I don't know. Feels like an addiction situation.
If someone watches content, I already said this, if someone watches content on someone else's stream, there is a very low likelihood that they're going to go watch it separately and give you like the view or the like or the people.
If you're gonna watch it and upload a VOD, put the original link to the original video in the description. At least do that much. Like you're actually giving a crap and trying. Boy, she's sure digging herself in a hole, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper.
People who are watching content on Twitch, curated Twitch content on Twitch, aren't necessarily people that would be watching content on YouTube.
That, my friend, is
boy.
called theft. And you're a thief. And now I'm suing you.
I don't blame him. I really don't.
This is just a testimony to how brazen and how safe they've, gotten. That she thinks she can go out in public on video and say shit like, I'm stealing this content because I want to. I'm coping even though I know it's stealing. When people watch it with me, they're definitely not going to go watch the original. Like, you are way too comfortable committing crimes out in the open. Well, there you have it. 3 separate lawsuits for 3 separate geniuses. Now, I want to make it clear again, and I hope it's been obvious about why I'm suing these 3 people and not others. These people not only violated all of the principles of fair use, they also did it maliciously.
No doubt they did it maliciously. They did it because, number 1, they don't like you. That's the primary reason. And number 2, they do feel like they're in a safe space, that they can't be touched, which is completely untrue as well. So I don't blame Ethan at all for doing this. And I'm glad he's limiting it to this. But, like, there's a reason why, because what they're doing is not transformative at all. They're just putting it on their Twitch, leaving, and that's it. No valuable commentary, nothing. Hex, now's not the time to be meowing, buddy. Go lay down.
And that's the part that really got me. I think if you're a reactor on Twitch, for the most part, if you make a good faith effort to comment, and if you make a good faith effort to promote the author, to link to them, to try to drive traffic to the original.
That's what I try to do. Because I know that for a fact with VODs, you have to.
Video, I think you're probably pretty much doing the right thing, and that's fine. And I would never sue someone for that. Take it to these 3 absolute morons to state their intention to steal my property on video. And to all the detractors who are saying that I'm targeting women, that I'm a hypocrite for suing for copyright infringement. I just have this to say. I don't care. What I do hope, though, is that you'll support their crowdfunding efforts to defend themselves. Because let's face it, I want to make sure there's money left over for me when I win my lawsuits. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been a great...
So I guess he's expecting not to profit from these lawsuits. So I would assume that's the case. But if he's not, I guess this is just to teach them a lesson. I hope he wins. Settling would suck, but a lot of people in the beginning always say they're not going to settle, and then they do. It's what happens every single time. I have yet to see one of these, other than Ethan's suit from almost a decade ago, follow through with finishing it to get a judge's judgment on the actual suit. So we'll see.
Great time. I'll see you around.
Gotta admit, that was a lot of information. So apparently Hassan has called, I'm not sure if these people are related to Hassan in any way, but they do what Hassan did, and apparently he started it, where he would disappear. Oh boy. And he would disappear from his chair or just be on his phone, not giving any reliable commentary. That's not good. Okay, hang on. I got a cat, and he's not going to listen. X is like, no, I'm going to meow at you when you're in the middle of a live stream because I demand that you take me outside. No, I'll take you outside later because you're going to get brushed. I have to brush him like every single day because of his fur. All right. That video was interesting. I heard about the H3H3 situation and Ethan's situation. So yeah, now I understand. Now, moving on to the situation with the Ukrainian war and Russia. I've been watching some of it. I've seen most of it. Russia's getting their butt kicked a lot. I want to make this clear. There's nothing good about war. Nothing at all. But as my uncle, who's a tank commander, has told me numerous times in the past, war isn't about morality. It's about either one side surrenders or the other side gets completely wiped out. And it's sad to say, but it is the truth.
Russia got it wrong again. After one of the most aggressive bombing runs of the war, Russian forces were convinced they'd wiped out every last one of Ukraine's Bradley fighting vehicles. They were sorely mistaken, and now they're paying the price for that mistake.
First of all, based on like all the news, everything I've seen like on HLC's content, which is Habitable Line Crosser, there's the Ukrainian news, there's multiple content creators on here who are supporting Ukraine against Russia that I've seen their content. And from what I've heard and what I've seen and everything that's been presented to me, Russia's getting its butt kicked. The United States released a report that states that at the rate Russia is taking territory in Ukraine, they won't have this war won for the next 45 years. And by then they would lose millions of troops, thousands of tons of equipment before they get anywhere. I mean, their tanks are covered in chicken cages, sheds, and other things because they can't repair their own equipment. They can't maintain it. They've gone through, I don't know, 8 different generals already because Putin's either put them in jail, retired them, and I mean literal retirement, and they're just disappeared. So I don't know what they're expecting because I can't understand why Russia wants to continue this because they've already lost territory in their own country. But they have not wiped out the Bradleys. There's no way. The amount of things they've had to deal with are drones from Ukraine. So I don't think they have.
The incident occurred in Ukraine's Sumy Oblast, close to the contested village of Andriivka, which has been a site of serious fighting for quite some time now. It's right by the border separating Ukraine and Russia, and the two sides have battled back and forth to take control of the area. Last year, Ukraine was in control not just of Andriivka, but of surrounding villages as well. Russia had almost no foothold in Sumy Oblast, which gave Ukraine the opportunity to launch cross-border raids into Russia's Kursk Oblast, taking over or disrupting dozens.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't understand what he said. Oblast? Sound like a blast? Some of these countries with their names really gotta change them? I don't know, because I can't pronounce some of these.
Of border towns and settlements in the process. At the peak of the offensive, Ukraine held control of hundreds of square miles of Russian territory, proving that it was more than capable of copying the Russian playbook and forcefully taking land from its enemy, while giving Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, a much needed dose of his own medicine in the process. In the end,
Alright, so I recall in a video in the past with HLC where he stated that Bradley's fire a tow missile, I believe. Actually, let me see if that's true. Yes, Bradley fighting vehicles are equipped with to fire tow missiles. And in his video, HLC stated that that tow missile, it bucks. Forgive my language, but it was hilarious.
And the offensive couldn't be sustained. Russia diverted some of its forces to push the Ukrainians back and recapture lost ground. And in the early months of 2025, Ukraine lost its last slivers of Kursk land. Then the Russians launched a counterattack, with units marching over the border into the Sumy region. But here's the catch. Those troops have almost no combat vehicles to support them. They're traveling either by foot or on bikes or quads. The reason for this is simple. Russia has suffered tremendous losses of equipment.
Russia, I am just astounded at how much equipment they have on backup. I don't know how anybody could have that much backup
over the course of the war so far. Estimates vary, but Oryx has visually confirmed more than 3,700 tanks and 7,500 armoured vehicles destroyed, plus hundreds of missile launchers and thousands of transport vehicles. And that's just the losses.
I mean, when we're seeing literal Russian tanks and heavy armored equipment covered in chicken cages with sheds and other materials that do nothing, they're just decoration, and we're literally calling them cope cages. It's a meme. You know Russia's just not doing it. And there was even a thing where they were bringing donkeys carrying their equipment and other things into the country. Like, whoa. One sec. All right. Now, I will say this. Russia is just getting their butt kicked. They called it a 3-day operation. It's been 3 years now. 3 years. So, if day means year in Russian, I guess that would be accurate.
Is caught on camera. Those numbers are based purely on public information, with real photo or video evidence to confirm each and every loss on the list. Ukraine's figures are, understandably, a bit different, with the country's armed forces claiming to have taken out more than 10,000 Russian tanks, over 20,000 armoured fighting vehicles, more than 22,000 artillery systems, hundreds of Russian planes and helicopters, and over 23,000 unmanned aerial vehicles or drones, plus...
I want to be clear, when this war started, Russia took all its equipment and lined it up along the border of Ukraine. There is not a single force in modern warfare today that would ever do that. Line up their equipment if they had any competency, would line up their equipment along the very border that they plan to invade. You don't do that. You don't tell your enemy or the country you're invading, hey, we're all here, and wave your hands. It was when the U.S. said that, when the U.S. posted a report about that, they literally said we would just have taken up our Air Force and just gone right along that line and totaled their entire force. That's what would have happened. Any other country, like the UK or Germany, if they lined up on the border, they would have been like, okay, target. And they're just standing still on the border. Russia's inept ability to actually know how to do war is frighteningly terrible. And now they have North Korea actually helping them.
Plus more than 3,000 cruise missiles. The true figures are likely to be somewhere in between those two extremes. But whichever way you look at it, Russia has clearly lost large numbers of tanks and armoured vehicles. It's doing what it can to replenish its stocks, like tripling the production rate of its T-90M tanks and even bringing decades-old Soviet-era tanks and vehicles out of long-term storage.
I mean, they don't really have a choice when their primary equipment's being destroyed. And I love how they always talk about their Su-35 and their Su-57 and their Su-75 Checkmate that's apparently in development or got stopped. Yeah. Russia's new 5th gen aircraft that they're developing.
Repairing those that are still suitable for combat, making modifications and refurbishments, and rolling them out onto the battlefield. However, it can't afford to keep on losing hardware at such a rate. Tanks can cost several...
Apparently they can, because they've been doing it for 3 years now. I don't even understand how you could lose that much equipment.
$1 million each, while Russia's armoured vehicles, like the Tiger or the BMP-2, are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars per unit. Every time Ukraine takes one out, it represents a huge financial loss for the Russians. And right now, with the country's economy in a perilous position, combined with the continued threat of sanctions and US tariffs, the Kremlin simply cannot afford those kinds of losses. Putin has already announced a cut to military spending for 2026.
Does that mean he's gonna sue for peace? Because that'd be nice. We could put an end to this conflict.
In a desperate attempt to help his country avoid a dramatic recession. And Russia has had to readjust its military tactics to avoid the risk of becoming an almost de-mechanized army. This was pointed out by US military correspondent and blogger David Axe in a recent post on his Trench Art blog. Axe quoted online open source intelligence analyst Mocklison, who posted on X. Not sure anybody noticed this, but so far RU has visibly lost one MRAP in Sumy Oblast. Everything is done either on foot or by bike and quad. He went on to note how this sole loss of a single mine-resistant ambush-protected armoured truck demonstrates just how bad Russia's shortage of combat vehicles really is.
Well, they're just terrible at doing war. I don't understand why they're doing this. I understand Russia did not like the US trying to get Ukraine to become a NATO ally, but this was an aggressive push even for them. They were once hailed as the second strongest military in the world, but based on everything we've seen so far, they don't even qualify as a top 10.
In 40 months of hard fighting, Russia has lost around 13,000 tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, armoured personnel carriers.
I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. All right. Just gonna pour my drink. And it's soda. It's not beer. I don't like alcohol. Though my dad did, so did my Uncle Bud. My Uncle Brian had to give up on alcohol and he went to Hawaiian Punch. I'll never forget that. You take one of those Hawaiian Punches out of his fridge, he knew exactly if you took one, and that fridge would be filled. It's a hell of a memory. Say, can you see the cat eating up my butt? Hex, go lay down. All right, let's get back to this.
And other less savoury techniques for getting people to join the fight. It's famously offered huge cash incentives for able-bodied men who are willing to sign up and spend some time at the front lines, reaching up to $40,000 in some cities and regions. Putin also began Russia's biggest military call-up in years back in April, with 100.
I understood he drafted them. At least that's what I thought. I thought he forced a draft.
160,000 young men aged between 18 and 30 ordered to join the so-called special military operation. On top of all that, Russia's forces are also being bolstered with the expected arrival of up to 30,000 soldiers from North Korea. Plus, the country has been aggressively intimidating, coercing, and even blackmailing migrants from Central Asian nations such as Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan to join its fight, even creating special migrant units to send to the most dangerous stretches of frontline land.
I was under the impression they only had North Korean allies there. I didn't know that they were intentionally, forcibly making their allies go up there.
This is all part of Putin's long-term plan to ensure Russia has the second largest army in the world after China.
Okay, maybe I misspoke. They have the second largest army, not the second strongest.
With a grand goal of 1.5 million active duty members. So far, that plan is working, even as Russia recently reached the grim milestone of more than 1 million casualties, with over 250,000 soldiers killed and more than 750,000 injured. The country continues to bring in new recruits to replace those that came before them. Indeed.
Makes me wonder if they should make a MASH 4077 about the Russian-Ukrainian war, like they did with Vietnam.
Recent reports suggest that Russia is able to recruit around 30,000 new troops each month, which covers the estimated 30,000 of its soldiers who are killed or wounded in Ukraine.
How do they have so many numbers?
On a monthly basis. And that brings us back to Sumi, explaining why Russian troops in the region are quite literally marching across Ukrainian land rather than riding in relative comfort and security on board armoured vehicles. Because the Kremlin treats its troops like cannon fodder.
Correct. It's the same tactics they used during World War II, where they would just send waves and waves of soldiers like meat shields. It's not reliable. It was never reliable. If you go back to World War II, the reason why we were able to beat Germany and Japan wasn't due to just one country. It was due to a combined 3 countries. The United Nations, not the United Nations, the United Kingdom, Britain, at that time they specialized in intel because they broke the code that the Germans were using, and they were able to get reliable intel and feed it to their allies, which were the US and Russia, who were the primary allies in the fight, and the US provided the equipment and logistics during the war to help Russia, who provided the numbers to force Germany into a 2-sided war. The 3 primary reasons why World War II was won by the Allied forces was 1, the United Nations, I keep saying that, the United Kingdom provided the intel, the US provided the logistics and the equipment, And Russia provided the numbers, the men. And that was a big reason for the war going in favor of the Allies, because they were getting their butts kicked for a while.
Disposable pawns that can simply be tossed into the firing lines and replaced a few days later, should they die or suffer serious injuries. It knows that replacing men is much easier and cheaper than replacing expensive tanks and armored vehicles.
Just to be clear, Russia does not care about soldiers. It's evident. They do not. The US puts more care into its equipment development, trying to make sure that their soldiers can come home. That's why the US is a logistics country when it comes to warfare. Logistics is primarily the reason most countries can win a war. If you have good logistics, you've got great chances of surviving. And I mean, intel helps. It definitely helps. But I'm telling you, man, Russia does not care about its soldiers at all. They just throw them in there, hoping to put a dent in some Ukrainian front line, only for them to lose it the following week. Like, they haven't maintained any ground. They gain ground, then lose ground. Gain it back, lose it again.
And so, Russian commanders have rewritten their doctrines to make use of the many simple civilian-style vehicles and massive manpower advantage they have over their opponents.
But it doesn't matter. It's not going to help them win. The report was released by the US Pentagon, where they literally said, at the rate you're going, it would take you 45 years and losing 1.7 million troops and thousands of tons of equipment before you would even conquer the country. 45 years. Like, I just don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you consider that a successful war, because it's not.
But this strategy has two clear and obvious downsides. First, without vehicles to back them up, Russian forces advance much more slowly than they usually would. Thanks to that, as Ukrainian-American war correspondent David Kirichenko puts it, it certainly becomes much harder to achieve any sort of, call it a big and beautiful breakthrough. The second big disadvantage is that if those groups of Russian troops, riding the likes of motorcycles and quad bikes, come across Ukrainian tanks or armored vehicles,
the ones on the bikes, which we've seen in quite a few recorded footage with Russians riding their dirt bikes through, are not being taken out by heavy artillery or tanks. It's the drones, the sacrificing drones that just kamikaze into them and take them out. They don't have a chance. Like, Russia is just, I don't know. I'm shocked that given the current state of affairs with this war, Putin is able to maintain his authority and there hasn't been a coup.
they'll be utterly ineffective, forced to flee or blown to smithereens in a matter of seconds. Russia has to mitigate that risk however it can, finding and taking out Ukraine's vehicles before its troops move on into an area. To do this, it relies primarily on its aerial forces. While Russia famously saw around a third of its bombing fleet damaged or destroyed in the iconic
those were their
Operation
big
Spiderweb
bombers, not
strike
the
of June 1st, and has also seen some of its jets and other aircraft taken out by Ukraine with the help of drones, missiles and air defense systems, it still has a relatively strong air force. It boasts around 10 times as many warplanes as Ukraine has, and a huge arsenal of glide bombs which it uses to support ground troops. On a regular basis throughout the conflict so far, Russian planes take to the skies along the front lines, dropping up to 100 CAB or UMPK glide bombs each and every day. Their aim is not...
Yeah, they avoid sending their jets directly over into Ukraine too deep on the outer chance that they get blown out of the sky.
Not only to take out any Ukrainian vehicles or air defences that might be in those areas, but also to deter Ukraine from bringing tanks and armoured units into those areas, out of fear that they'll be bombed and destroyed. For a long time, this strategy was incredibly effective, and Ukraine had almost no way to counter them.
I want to be clear, if it was effective, this would be a 3-day operation with day equaling year. turning it into a 3-year operation if it was as effective as this guy says. I get that there's subtle nuances, but I just don't agree that if it's effective, why has it still been going on for 3 years?
Indeed, in a Telegram post dated March 23, 2024, the Ukrainian Deep State account wrote, "Despite some stabilization of the front at the beginning of the month, the enemy has been conducting a large number of counterattacks and banzai attacks for the past 10 days. Before that, abundantly showering the positions of the defense forces with fab cabs. The latter have become a miracle weapon for the Katsap, which brings results and has practically no countermeasures." The Russian strategy was clear: bomb first, assault after, and it helped them take towns and gain large amounts of ground for a while. Then Ukraine figured out how to counter it, using radio jamming.
Yeah, Ukraine's gotten very smart. They're doing things the US and Britain have never even thought of. And the US is taking notes. So's the UK. They're all taking notes. They are literally taking notes and taking the information they're getting from these attacks, and they're literally riding away with it. It's amazing to see how well they're doing that. Like, Ukraine has taught us things about warfare we didn't consider. Like the big 1.5 year operation they had planned, sending drones over Russian lines to take out the majority of their air force. They're big bombers primarily.
That make it much harder for the bombs to hit their targets, with many flying wildly off course and landing harmlessly in empty fields. This was revealed on the Fighter Bomber Telegram channel, where a Russian pilot wrote, "The bombs are still flying, planned targets are being hit, but there's a catch, they're missing. All satellite guided correction systems have officially left the chat. Both Russian and Ukrainian EW specialists have mastered portable and mobile EW stations, which now saturate the front line on both sides, rendering satellite guided corrections for all munitions, not just UMPKs, useless." The pilot went on to note that it now takes anywhere from 8 to 16 bombs to even have a chance of hitting their intended target. Yet, despite the bombing runs becoming significantly less effective thanks to Ukrainian jammers, Russia has persisted with the tactic. Perhaps it has no other strategy, or maybe it simply wants to save face and appear to be doing more damage than it really is. Either way, it's continuing to drop bombs, and it recently launched a particularly intensive campaign along a relatively small section of the Sumy front, near towns like Andriivka, Oleksivka, and Kindrativka, where the aforementioned Russian brigades were struggling to survive. This was reported once again by Mokleson on X.
Here's the problem with Russia. Their soldiers are going on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and posting reports and pictures of their locations. Literally feeding intel to Ukraine through this clearly stupidity of doing this. Now, it's one thing when the US allows reporters to come into a war zone, but they're in a secluded spot and they can't give away their location. But I have yet to see, it's probably happened, but I have not seen US forces, UK forces, French forces, NATO forces at all go out there and post on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter about, oh, look, we're at this location planning to bomb this place. Ha 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 ha, they better look out. This is what Russian soldiers are doing. It is hilarious. Not funny, but hilarious to watch them just show they don't understand how an operation is carried out. Because any other, like, if you had a command chain like the US does, and you did that, you posted a live operation on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, your CO would have your head in the MP's armpits, because that's what would happen to you. This isn't a joke. This is how bad Russia has their soldiers trained, their COs are, their general, who they've gone through 8 of them, who commands the entire Ukrainian front for Russia. And it's just stunning to me. It's stunning to me. And I think it's even more generals than that they've moved off of. You know, that's a good question, Bree. I'm not sure. I'm curious if it's just sabotage or if the Russians just don't know stupidity. A buddy of mine, he's been paying attention to this since it started 3 years ago. His opinion of it is the Soviet Union and Russia aren't that different. They're following the same tactics they used during World War I and World War II. Just keep throwing numbers at it and hope something happens. That's it. And I can't understand it myself. The war situation, how Russia has been so inept at their ability to command their soldiers and their training. Because it just goes to show me that people that are put in positions of power in Russia are corrupt. They're not even proper people that should be in those positions. I'm sure they have super talented soldiers who, if they promoted them and put them in a position, they would do way better than they are right now. But they don't. You have to be in Putin's good graces or one of his lackeys' good graces to get up there. And I feel sorry for these men and women that are being thrown out there and dying for a pointless war that was not needed. It's sad, really.
30th and 22nd MRR together with 40th Marines are really struggling near Kindrativka.
I can't get over this. Their post is telling them the location of where they're struggling. If you want to tell Ukraine where to hit you, this is what you do. You're a Russian soldier and you post it on Twitter.
And may be surrounded soon. 177th Marines and 155th Marines near Oleksivka are doing a bit better, but also struggle to maintain their positions. RU is dropping an insane number of fabs there. Many of the bombs fell on an isolated area of tree line, and Mokhlesen shared images and even video footage of the area, showing some of the bombs falling and clouds of smoke rising up from the trees and surrounding fields. It's possible that Ukrainian units in
Oh, and to Bree's question on the soldiers, I think she means the soldiers might not support this. You're probably right, but who's going to overthrow Putin to stop this? Because Putin kills anybody that speaks out against him or is a political rival. And it's pretty obvious that it's just not going to happen. And if they wanted to do a coup, it would take an extremely large part of the population. I mean, there was an attempted coup about a year ago by a privatized Russian force that attempted to go and take Moscow. They literally were marching towards there, but then they surrendered. But guess what happened to the commander of that unit when he decided to surrender and come back home by plane to Russia? He was killed. He's dead. And it's sad. Because it's this type of stuff that shouldn't be happening. And there's a lot of people that like to post these videos showing Vladimir Putin saluting fallen soldiers, where he goes up to reefs and he salutes, and how he treats animals and all this other stuff. Like he has this great image, but it's clear as heck he doesn't understand how to do war. Because I can promise you right now, the President of the United States, every president we ever had, when they go to war, they have a cabinet. That's why they have a cabinet of advisors that they either hire, run through, or vet to get them to a point where they have reliable, capable people. And if they're not capable, they get fired and they try someone else. But they don't kill them. Because this is the thing about governments around the world, that certain ones get in positions of power because of the connections that they had to somebody else.
In the area, like the 79th and 95th Air Assault Brigades or the 225th Assault Regiment, had position troops or artillery systems in the area. The Russians may have also believed that Ukraine had a stash of Bradley infantry vehicles in that location, and they were absolutely determined to blow up anything that might be concealed between the trees. It hasn't been revealed how many, if any, Ukrainian targets were hit by the bombs, but the Russians certainly weren't expecting what happened next. Having dropped so many bombs in such a small area, they likely assumed they'd wiped out Ukraine's supplies of Bradley vehicles that could send their troops onward to take more territory.
It's the only way they may have to protest it all. The thing is, Putin has been recruiting soldiers from outside the main cities. That's the thing. The majority of the media is controlled in Russia, similar to China. So because of that, the people that are in Moscow and the primary capitals aren't people that are being forcibly drafted into the military. They're going to the outer villages and the outer towns that are on the farther ends of Russia that are not as well known. So a lot of the people in Russia don't even know what's going on because their head is buried in the ground and they don't see it. Because when you control the propaganda, you control the media, and you control all the information being released to your people, they don't have the full story. So they think Putin is always saying how good they're doing. Like, let me give you a good example. About, I want to say 8 months ago, Russia held a parade in Moscow where they captured one of the tanks that the U.S. sent to Ukraine and brought it for a show through the parade. It was one tank. I want you to mind you, one tank. The level of cope that Russia, mainly Putin, has to have is he throws a parade for one piece of destroyed American equipment in the Ukrainian war. Because they are not able to take out any of the majority of the U.S. equipment that Ukraine has been using, because Ukraine's been smarter than them. And also, there have been French troops, which was only recently known, training Ukrainian soldiers out on the front lines in live action situations, showing them how to shoot, how to fire, and how to utilize terrain. French troops. And everyone always makes fun of France for being the guy who loses a war, despite the fact they did help us in the Civil War. Like, they were a primary, I mean, not the Civil War, in the War for Independence. They were a primary reason why we were able to fight against Britain. So, as far as I can tell, when it comes to this, when you're looking at all this, the Russian people don't protest because they don't know, and also because they just want to keep their heads buried in the dirt. I'm sure they have an idea. I'm sure they're aware. But they're just not going to. And Putin has that going for him. The only way Putin's going to be ousted is if one of his political rivals or one of his lackeys decides to make a move. That's it. And I mean, Russia on a day-to-day basis threatens nuclear attack if any other country helps. But it's already too late for that. The US is giving Ukraine equipment. The UK is giving Ukraine equipment. French soldiers have already been spotted training on video Ukrainian soldiers in live action situations. It's why the Ukrainian soldiers are doing so well. They actually have French capable, trained soldiers there teaching them how to handle equipment. And Ukraine has been very smart with how they've utilized the very little amounts of equipment that they have. They've made Russia's so-called second largest army in the world be nothing more than meat shields. That's it. That's all they are. I mean, when you take tanks, put coke cages around them, and you now are using donkeys to bring your equipment in, you know Russia's just not doing well. They're not doing well at all.
In the end, the Russians actually ended up retreating from the area when Ukraine's brigades rolled in and flanked them. The Ukrainians were equipped with some of the West's leading fighting vehicles, including German-made Marders and US-supplied Strykers and Bradleys. The Russians, meanwhile, were vehicle-less. All Ukraine had to do was wait for Russia's bombing run to end before rushing in, striking the Russian regiments from either side near the village of Kindrativka.
And fun fact, when you're launching aerial strikes, you don't just launch it with one wave. You don't. And that's the problem with Russia. This is how inept they are. They're launching a single wave of fighters, carpet bombing the area, and then leaving. They have no planes that rise even higher than jets. They're known as those big planes with the large radar disc on the top of them. The U.S. uses them a lot, and they use that to survey if the bombing went well. And they're usually 10,000 feet above where the jets bombed, because they're checking to see, hey, did you hit anything? Oh, no, it looks like we missed some stuff. Send in the second wave. Russia lost both of them. They only had two, from my understanding, and they were both destroyed by anti-aircraft fire from the systems that the Patriot systems that the US sent in.
In the end, the Russians were just about able to escape from the area, fleeing northeast, back towards the border and the relative safety of Russian land. But even though Ukraine wasn't able to take out those Russian troops, this was still a big win. It pushed Russia back, decreasing their control over the Sumy region, freeing the areas around Kindrativka and Andriivka once more, and setting the Kremlin-Sumy offensive back to square one all over again. Let's not forget as well that the Russians wasted a massive amount of bombs in the process, all for nothing.
Oh, and fun fact, they're getting their ammunition now from North Korea, which has a history of exploding before you can even get it on something to launch it at to make it explode. They're using North Korean equipment. North Korean soldiers are now in Russia helping with the war. Oh, and a little information came out. The Russians gave the North Korean soldiers unlimited internet access. Unlimited internet access, and the North Korean soldiers were looking up adult cinema, Pornhub, and other things, and getting off on it. I couldn't believe it when I heard it, but it's true. The Koreans have no internet, and so when the North Koreans got to Russia and got access to internet, they were looking up adult cinema. Wow. Just wow.
And this isn't an isolated incident. Since Ukraine worked out the best way to counterattack Russia's bombing runs, so many of those bombs have been wasted, and Ukrainian forces have found it far easier to keep their vehicles safe and carry out these kinds of strategic, well-timed counterattacks, both in Sumy and other areas along the front lines. In those kinds of areas, Russia held the advantage for large parts of the war. It had its tanks and armoured vehicles, backed up by legions of troops, hordes of artillery systems, and a mighty air force too. But as this story shows, the tide is turning, with Russia becoming increasingly dependent on sheer manpower, opting to send troops into Ukraine on foot or simple civilian vehicles. Ukraine suddenly has an unexpected edge. Because
this thing that he's talking about in this video is very obvious to Russia's tactics, just like the old Soviet Union. They believed they had the manpower, but the problem is you don't line up your forces across the border before you're getting ready to invade. This is War 101, modern war. You don't do that. And they did that. And they just literally gave away their location to the Ukrainians so they could hit them. And Ukraine has held out. They have done phenomenal stopping Russian troops from getting in there and taking even huge swaths of Russian land when they invaded. Like, it's crazy to me how inept Russia has been at this whole operation. They just throw... Yeah, they did. They did tip their hand. I mean, Russia was considered the second largest army in the world. Still is, apparently. And is considered, by estimations, like years ago, before this war started, and they showed how inept they were, the second strongest army in the world. And it turns out they weren't. They were not. They were this inept. The moment they got into a combat situation, they fell apart.
Because even though the Ukrainian forces have also suffered losses and seen some of their tanks and armoured vehicles blown up and destroyed, they've not been as wasteful or reckless as the Russians. They used their vehicles more carefully and
That's the thing. Ukraine has been very tactful. They've utilized intel given to them by the UK and French training from French soldiers and French commanders who are in Ukraine, and they've utilized it well. They've taken advantage of the instruction material they've been given by the United States with equipment and utilized it well. They even took equipment that they were given from the US, tore it apart, built specialized drones, planned a 1.5-year operation, ran a bunch of semi-tractor trailers carrying trucks of drones over the Russian line just to launch an attack on their big, heavy bombers. If it's not obvious that the logistics in Russia, the intel in Russia, has nothing, they have no answer. All they can do is throw numbers at it. And as I said before, the U.S. Pentagon released a report saying if Russia continues at the pace that they're going, they will take them 45 years to take all of Ukraine. And by that time, they'll have lost 1.7 million total soldiers. Not talking casualties. They're talking actual people that have not survived the war. And over 500,000 tons worth of equipment. It's crazy to me to believe Russia is willing to do this. And we even tried to bring them to the negotiation table. But Russia kept making absurd demands. And Ukraine was willing to come to the table both times. I don't understand Russia's position on this with Putin. It doesn't make any sense to me. He's not winning. He's losing. So whatever his end game is, it's not working.
Prudently. Plus,
'Cause
Ukraine
I can
has
promise
many
you this, he's
allies
not
across
Thanos.
Europe and North America, ready to lend a hand. The US has already sent more than 300 Bradley fighting vehicles to Kyiv.
And as a habitable line crosser, a YouTuber that I watch, said about the Bradley and the tow missile, that tow missile, it fucks.
As well as hundreds of strikers. The UK, meanwhile, has delivered at least 120 mass.
Oh, a Bradley is not a tank per se. It's considered a heavy armor equipment. And it's basically an anti-tank. It can rapid fire these tow missiles and just tear apart tanks. It's crazy. When a tank requires time to offshoot and reload, the Bradley's already on it, tearing it apart.
Stiff armored vehicles, while Germany has sent dozens of Marders. The Bradleys have proven particularly effective.
Yep, especially when you have inept Russian troops who have no idea how to utilize what they've got. I mean, but Russia doesn't even maintain its current equipment. Fun fact, here's another story that happened. Russia sent a submarine towards the United States southern border in the Gulf of Mexico. It was located near Cuba. They sent it down there. This was during this war, mind you, with the Ukrainian-Russian wars, I think a few months ago or so. The U.S. detected it because their sonar could hear the Russian parts falling apart inside the submarine. The U.S. engineers were able to pinpoint what part was malfunctioning in the Russian submarine. And the Russians were humiliated. And they had to go back to Russia because the submarine was falling apart at the bottom of the ocean. Oh, man. Russia. Like, it's a meme at this point, how bad it's been. They can't maintain their ships. They can't maintain their equipment. They can't maintain their troops. And they can't maintain a submarine. It's hilarious. And you can look this all up. You can Google it. It's all there. The Pentagon report, the submarine situation where they literally detected what parts were falling apart from it. Because that's how advanced our sonar and radar detection is here in the U.S. Because that's how bad it was. And like, man, it's something else. I should bring up Apple Line Crosser's video. He's got a couple of them, which are hilarious. Showing Russian tanks versus U.S. tanks and the way he does it.
As noted in the national interest. The Cold War era Bradley, supplied to Ukraine in far greater numbers than tanks like the Abrams, has...
Yeah, the U.S. manufactures heavy Abrams. Mainly South Korea does. They're the primary guy. Because South Korea is a big military ally and maker of equipment for war. They've sent Poland a ton of crap. Poland spent $15 billion buying equipment from Germany, from the UK, from the US, and South Korea. $15 billion to get anti-aircraft, to get Patriot systems, to get planes, F-35s, to get tanks, heavy armor, ammunition, missiles, and even newer air defense systems that haven't even been fully developed yet by the US. I have seen only one of those. And Habble Line Crosser does those videos. And he does the US versus this country, or the US versus this country. And it's always the US versus somebody. And the thing about it is, the reason why the US probably has a good chance of taking on the whole world is because of our Navy. Because we have the most aircraft carriers in the ocean. We have got 11 super carriers, which house almost 8,000 troops, tons of airmen, I think close to 20 jets, several helicopters, and those super carriers are never alone in the middle of the ocean. They have cruisers with them and submarines defending them. And Russia will always make fun of the U.S. for having these super carriers. Like, they're just big targets. They're never alone. They've got plenty of protection. And that's not if the jets that are on board haven't been launched and already destroyed the initial target. I'm going to say this, though. The US versus the world videos, they're accurate, but it's a logistics battle. Modern warfare is all about logistics now. It just is. The most common war these days is about logistics. It just is. The logistics, majority of the time, is what's going to win you a war. Your ability to produce equipment, your ability to enter wartime, and no one's better at wartime than the US. Right now, we're not even in wartime, and we're still able to produce equipment at astonishing rates. Because if we entered World War II times, and we're at wartime again, our ability to produce equipment is just busted. It's not even fair to anybody. And the thing is, with our equipment development, we develop it not to be fast and optimal. We develop to also be able to protect our men and women who are serving. We want them to come back alive. Russia doesn't do that. None of its equipment's designed for that. Sure, their jets might have ejector seats, but our equipment actually, like the anti-aircraft and the Patriots, have a bias for taking out the cockpit when they launch a missile. A bias for hitting the cockpit. Not only do we try to keep our men and women safe, but we're also trying to destroy the other side completely. And they call it, what do they call the U.S.? Overwhelming force. Because I remember Biden threatening that to Russia when he threatened to launch on a U.S. base site. He threatened to attack it during this whole escalation. And Biden said, if you attempt to strike any U.S. troops, we will hit you with overwhelming force. And that's referring to the U.S. Air Force. Because I can tell you right now, if the U.S. Air Force launched today and attacked Russia, within 72 hours, their entire front line would be crippled. They'd have nothing. And they'd have to retreat. They wouldn't be able to retaliate.
It's bolstered Ukraine's defense and gained something of a legendary status among Ukrainian fighters. This is likely due to the Bradley's distinctive blend of firepower, mobility, and protection. It's a versatile vehicle, well suited for urban environments and close quarters.
The Bradley. It's just the pride and joy of this whole war. It just comes in there and makes Russian tanks from World War II in the Vietnam era look sad.
Combat, which is exactly what Ukraine needs when defending its towns and cities from Russian invaders. Equipped with a 25mm Bushmaster chain gun that can engage both enemy infantry and vehicles, plus the power to launch tow missiles to take out tanks.
That tow missile. It fucks.
Bradley also boasts reinforced armor against small arms and artillery fire, combined with strong cross-country movement so it can be redeployed wherever it's needed. Vehicles like these allow Ukraine to patrol the front lines or prepare ambushes in areas where it expects the Russians to advance, lying in wait for troops to approach before launching a deadly strike, overwhelming the Kremlin's forces in an instant. Such attacks can prove highly effective when it comes to pushing the Russian forces back, regaining lost ground, and making it harder for the enemy to advance, as noted in a recent report from the Ukrainian Center for Defense Strategies. Defense forces' counterattacks in Sumy Oblast complicate the enemy's advance and threaten the encirclement of Russian troops operating in Andriivka. If Ukraine can keep this up, it will all help in terms of prolonging the war and wasting the Kremlin's resources, and time is of the essence right now, especially in the wake of the ultimatum imposed on Russia by US President Donald Trump. In a recent U-turn on aid for Ukraine,
I will be clear about this. My stance on Trump is he does stupid things, sometimes good things, and then really, really dumb things. I mean, that's my stance on it. See, I like a president that stands by what they do and then does it. And I'll support them for that. But some of the things he's done with like holding off aid for Ukraine, I don't agree with. Like, I don't mind my tax dollars to the federal government going towards helping Ukraine. That I don't have an issue with. If they want to do that, they can. Oh yeah, he's very entertaining to watch, especially on Twitter when he posts mega paragraphs about the Epstein files. I'm not going to go into that. I don't want anything to do with that. That is a subject matter for something I don't care about. Child trafficking? No, I'm not okay with that. Not in the least bit.
Trump announced a huge package of weapons was set to be shipped to Kyiv, including Patriot missiles and batteries. He also gave Russia a mere 50 days to agree to a peace deal or face game-changing tariffs.
Trump approved 16 Patriot systems to be sent to Ukraine. 16. Ukraine was only using 2. And you saw what 2 Patriot systems, anti-aircraft, did to their Air Force, preventing them from going any deeper. And Russia's constantly claiming they've destroyed 5 and 8 Patriot systems when there were only 2 present. Now it's confirmed they're going to be getting 16 more Patriot systems. It's either 12 to 16, and it's crazy to think about. We got to build them, of course, but it's crazy to me that we're going to send them something like that. And and I want to keep this in mind. The Patriot system is a 50 years old plus anti-aircraft system, and it's steamrolling modern day aircraft that Russia has. I want you to keep that in mind. 50 years old. And Russia, with modern day equipment, can't even deal with 2 of them. What's going to happen when 12 arrive? It's going to be a massacre.
Both on the Russian economy and any countries that were still supporting Russia and buying its resources once the deadline is reached. 50 days is a long time in war, and Ukraine could still suffer heavy losses during that period, especially as Russia ramps up its drone attacks, aerial bombardments, and incursions along the frontline regions. However, the more Ukraine can delay Russia, the more Putin will start to worry. He knows that even if he throws all he has...
It's been 3 years. 3 years of this. And if the cope cages with the chicken cages and the sheds on his tanks and the donkeys and now dirt bikes weren't enough for Putin to call it quits, I don't think he's calling it quits now. Oh, and fun fact, Putin has threatened nukes several times, and it's been confirmed that in reports from China and Russia, their nukes are filled with water. Portion fuel, portion water. They're not maintaining them. The warheads that we believe they have active are so significantly less now compared to the US, because the US still has the most active nukes because, fun fact, the US maintains its equipment. Russia has water in their nukes. How does that compensate for fuel? I don't think it does.
Has at Ukraine, he has no hopes of winning this war in such a short period of time. It's already taken over 3 years to fully capture Luhansk and make marginal gains in other regions. And with Ukraine continuing to receive important aid from allies in Europe and North America, Russia is being pushed closer and closer to the negotiating table. Now, learn more about recent developments in the Russia-Ukraine conflict in our video detailing how one of Russia's closest neighbors has turned its back on the Kremlin.
Well, another fun fact is China stopped ordering the defensive systems that Russia sells. and they pulled themselves out of their jet program too, so they won't be receiving those. Apparently, some Middle Eastern country, I'm not sure who, is buying some Russian equipment, but at this point, it's pretty obvious that the U.S. equipment's just better. It's just better. And any new Russian equipment is what they call the wish list of military equipment. But yeah, that was that Russian video. This is from the military show. I just find it interesting that this war's been going on. It was supposed to be a 3-day operation and turned into a 3-year operation. Whew, boy. All right, next on my list, the DOJ to assess Obama-Russia hoax documents. Criminal charges possible, says Tulsa Gabbard. Fox News report. I usually CBS, NBC, Fox News, whoever's got it.
So on his very first day in office, President Trump signed an executive order announcing that the federal government would, quote, take appropriate action to correct past misconduct related to the weaponization of law enforcement and the weaponization of our intel community. No person alive today knows what it's like to have the full force of the federal government turned against you better than Donald Trump. Well, he does not want...
Well, they're not wrong. The Democrats tried to do everything that they could to get Trump thrown in jail. They tried to impeach him. They tried to call him a new Adolf Hitler. They tried to get him canceled. They tried to get him banned permanently off Twitter. They tried to get him indicted. They tried to impeach him twice. Everything the Democrats could do, they tried, and Trump is still around kicking. I don't know what that says. It just tells me Trump is the biggest troll on the planet.
Want any other Americans to have to go through what he went through, because President Trump, frankly, has been to hell and back, and it all started at the beginning of his first term with the totally phony Russia hoax. We spent 3 years unpeeling every layer of that onion on this program with John Solomon, and
I didn't pay attention to that. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm not really involved too much into politics. I just see the surface level. But as far as I can tell, this Russian hoax, it just because he met up with Putin, met up with the North Korean leader, got South Korea and North Korea to actually come together, even though they're technically not cut together at all. But like I said, there's just silly things that Democrats like to do and Republicans like to do, and it doesn't get us anywhere. I think my biggest thing is I'm a firm believer that senators and congressmen should be put under term limits as the same as the president. 4 years, 2 terms, that should be the max, because we have 80, 90-year-old men and women trying to run a country where they've already made millions of dollars. And if the country goes belly up, they've got their millions safely stored away, and they don't care what happens to the country. That's my personal take on it. But I think they should be under term limits, because if we get people in there that are fresh, new, and they're making change, and I'm telling you right now that sometimes the change won't be good. You might not like it, but it's active, actual change. It would be wonderful if we could just see some actual change happening. Because I want to tell you something. Going all the way back to the early 2000s, when they made high definition a federal law, high definition, our government, federal government, spent time in Congress and Senate typing up a law to make television, high definition television, a forced change. That's what they're spending their time on. These old men and women spend their time nearly 100+ days out of the year on days off, and only a few, like 200 days out of the year, in actual governmental office running things. I mean, I'm telling you, when you're seeing this kind of stuff happening, you just keep wanting to say, and I know a lot of people would agree with it, senators and congressmen should have term limits. They just should. They can only serve 2 terms, 4 years. Should have been a thing. The only reason we have a president who can't serve more than 2 terms is because of what happened with FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Because people liked him so much, they would have elected him to a 4th term. That the people loved FDR because he was one of the big 3 during World War II and came up with all that stuff. I mean, the amount of stuff that happens with our government can come down to just 2 things. Old people in office and social media turning it into a troll. That's it. That's what it is now.
Greg Jarrett and Sarah Carter and others. Today we're learning another shocking detail about the early days of that sham investigation. We have a newly declassified report prepared for President Barack Obama back in December of 2016, right after Donald Trump won, specifically stating, quote, Russian criminal activity failed to reach the scale and sophistication necessary to change election outcomes. And they were talking about one place in Chicago. Now, the deep state did not like the assessment. That was put.
I want to be clear. I don't believe there's a deep state. I think that's just a hoax. I just think there's a certain group of individuals who are in positions of power that push their own political beliefs to make something happen. That's it. Because if there's truly a deep state, we wouldn't have some of the weird crap we have going on with the little explanations that we get. Because it's like when they say that football, the NFL, is rigged. But how do you get a 53-man roster of a football team to agree to throw a game? How? How do you do that? How do you convince 53 men on 32 different teams, each with 53 men, to throw a football game so another team can win as rigged? I can't get behind hoaxes, conspiracies, and rigged sports when you have that level of people. Someone has to spill the beans. There's no way it stays that big of a secret. They would have to Men in Black flash them to make them lose their memories after each game, just so they wouldn't talk about it. It's not possible, man. You cannot tell me there is rigged in the NFL like that for games to be thrown by whole teams. It's just not possible. Now, I know there's cases of refs making calls for point differentials in order to win on bets, but they always seem to get caught. And when they get caught, they're fired and then prosecuted. What shocks me is NBA players who bet on games and NFL players who bet on games, and then they get caught. And I'm just questioning, because their contracts are worth millions and they're betting thousands on a game. The logic just makes no sense to me. It just doesn't. Well, I watch a lot of NFL. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan, so I love the Ravens. I follow players, not teams. So if I have a favorite player on a team, I like that team. Right now, I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. So, but I just can't get behind conspiracies, hoaxes, and rigged games without looking at the context of the whole thing. It's just so hard for me to believe when you have so many people involved, how no one has spilled the beans. Like, it's just hard for me to believe. And it blows my mind. Players in these sports who make millions of dollars now betting on games for a few $1,000. And in that one game alone, they could be making, just for playing the game and being present, 1.2 million or more. And they're betting thousands on a game. Why would you risk everything for a bet that's not even worth a quarter of your total paycheck for that one day you played in that game. I can never understand how these players think, but I cannot understand how people think when there's conspiracies, hoaxes, and rigged games. And it just blows my mind, because I can't believe it. You can't convince me it's true.
Put together by career people, rank and file people. But when the politicized people around Obama got it, guess what? It changed. They never let Obama see it. Then when he asked them to prove that Russia meddled in the election, they just simply complied.
All right, so long.
And they turned it on its head. And frankly, in many ways, you can say they polluted what was real intelligence, and they turned it into poison. And they did it to destroy one man. Is it any wonder that there are now reportedly criminal investigations, this conspiracy investigation by Kash Patel underway, and it specifically names Comey and Brennan. All right, here to give us all the details and bring us up to speed with reaction to...
If Obama... I mean, I don't think I'm understanding the full context of the Russian hoax with Donald Trump. And if Obama was responsible for either controlling information or preventing information or making information up, I'm just not convinced.
Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, she declassified this report yesterday, has many more details. You know, I have this creation of the Russia hoax that you put out on X, that you posted on X, and I'll put it up as you're speaking here. What is amazing to me as I've gone through this cache of documents you've released is they concluded just the opposite. They concluded there was no problem. And then all of it, that was the rank and file. These were career people in the intel community. They gave honest assessments. Then all of a sudden it ends up in the hands of the leadership, the deep state as we call them, and what happened to it? Can you explain what the process and what these documents reveal?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. This is such an important issue, and I just want to start by saying that this is an issue that is important to every single one of us as Americans. This is not a partisan issue. It has to do with the integrity and the strength of our democratic republic, and it lays out this over 100 documents that you're referencing. That
I'm glad she said republic, because we're not a true democracy. Because a true democracy isn't restricted to two parties, like ours is. So we are definitely a republic. I don't want anybody to get that twisted. Do not believe for a second that the U.S. is a true democracy. It has its problems.
that I released, declassified and released, spells out in great detail exactly what happens when you have some of the most powerful people in our country directly leading at the helm, President Obama and his senior-most national security cabinet, James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Susan Rice and others, essentially making a very intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence with the objective of subverting the will of the American people who in November of 2016...
I want to be clear. When these broadcasters talk about American people, they believe when they say that they're speaking for a population of 250 million. That it's everyone, but it's not. You say American people, they're referring to everyone, but that's just not the case. Because there's a lot of people who don't agree with this, and there's a lot of people that do agree with this. So if you ever hear for the American people, they want to know. It should be more specific, but I just don't know how you would say this group of Americans without, I don't know, doing it. I'm not a broadcaster, so I don't know.
Delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton, and President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept.
Well, he destroyed her in the popular vote, and just like, we don't like the Electoral College, to be clear. Americans are not a fan of that, because the Electoral College is supposed to lean towards where the popular vote goes, per state. if a majority of the state finds in favor of one presidential candidate, it's supposed to be all the electoral votes are supposed to go to that presidential candidate, but that's sometimes not how it works. That's why I'm a bigger fan of the popular vote being what decides who is the president. I mean, this is just like when we have, for example, media people who vote on who wins an award. And it's only those media people rather than the fans themselves doing the voting. Now, don't get me wrong. Websites have crashed when they've attempted to do stuff like that, where they have the people vote. Like, for example, the Game of the Year Awards. One of the bigger ones, which is streamed on Twitch and YouTube, gets online votes for selected games that they believe qualify for certain categories. And we can vote on those. They've had people crash those servers before. And that's why it's, I know if you were doing a massive election, like for the presidency, and you were to have it just be based on popular vote, and everyone does it online and votes, of course there'd be issues because there's people that could VPN or IP swap and things like that to fake and add additional votes, but they have ways of weeding those out. It would most likely crash whatever website the federal government sets up, because federal governments does not maintain their websites very well. But man, when you're saying American people, you've really got to understand that it's not everyone. It just isn't. They say that a lot, and I'll never agree with them saying the American people. It's the certain American people.
Accept the decision of the American people, and to use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would become essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. You have gone into great detail over these years of what the effects of this document and this decision have resulted in. Obviously, a years-long Mueller investigation that cost taxpayers almost $40 million, 2 congressional impeachments, endless smears and attacks against not only President Trump, but his family. He had senior members of his team who were investigated, some arrested and jailed. We had heightened and increased tensions between the United States and Russia. The list goes on and on about the consequences of President Obama and his senior cabinet members politicized.
Okay, let me be clear. If they're saying that Russian escalation was worse back then than now, I don't know where they're getting their information, because that's simply not true. That just can't be. There's no way it was heightened more back during this hoax than it is now.
Intelligence, once again, and I say these words very clearly, to enact what was essentially a years-long coup, subverting the will of the American people in that election in November. Now, you referenced this President's Daily Brief document that was drafted for President Obama in early December that reaffirmed what the intelligence community professionals, as you say, had been assessing for the previous 6 months leading up to the election, which was that Russia neither had the intent nor capability to essentially hack the outcome of the U.S. election. As you said,
it's not about hacking. They don't try to do that. The majority of what China and Russia and even North Korea have attempted is to post propaganda that is false information to get you to rebel against your country or lie. And it's just not the truth. That's why it's hard to sniff out what they're doing. Because I think there's probably been maybe an incident where they've attempted to hack into voting registration, but I don't know. I only know of the attempts at propaganda that all 3 countries have attempted in subverting American political system. So, I mean, there's stuff I don't know, and I admit that.
said President Obama's political appointees pulled that document before it could be published, and it has not been published until we released it today. And the very next day after they pulled that document, President Obama called a National Security Council cabinet meeting to discuss how Russia interfered with the election. Again, this is the first
This
week
is
of December.
December 9th,
President
right?
Trump had already won. Correct.
This is the December 9th meeting.
That's exactly right. The December 9th meeting, we declassified.
Sounds like she doesn't want to be interrupted because she's trying to maintain her thoughts. Because, I mean, you can tell she had to read off, I don't know, it just looks like she read off a script and had to re-say it just to remember. But I could be wrong. Maybe she's just trying to gather her thoughts. But she definitely did not like him interrupting her there.
And release what they call the summary of conclusions from that meeting.
She looks like an older Rogue from X-Men with that white streak through her hair. Huh. She really does.
Then DNI James Clapper took the lead on what President Obama wanted done, and which was essentially create a document that tells us not if, but how Russia interfered with the election. President Obama delivered the conclusion that he wanted the intelligence community to reach, and directed them to find and essentially create and manufacture the intelligence to support the conclusion that President Obama wanted to deliver to the American people. Once that document...
Okay. This is where I'm going to interject. When news sites like CBS, NBC, ABC, and the Fox News, because I sometimes see some of their feeds, but when they say treasonous conspiracy, no, it's not a treasonous conspiracy. For it to be conspiracy, it's literally something people have been talking about and came up with, and then they're thinking that it happened even though it didn't. What they're discussing right now is a report. Just a report that they're releasing with information that they believe was discussed. Like I told you, I'm not a big fan of conspiracies, hoaxes, or rigged. I just don't buy into it when certain things are applied. Now, do I believe Obama tried to change information to make it seem like there was Russian collusion? No, because I haven't heard anything about that. All we're getting is a report that states he held a cabinet meeting to discuss it.
It was drafted, the deep state kicked into gear and did...
Again, I don't think there's a deep state. I can't reiterate this enough. I don't believe there's a deep state. I believe that there is a few people who abuse their positions of power. Some get away with it, some of it don't, and it gets pushed under the rug. But that is not a deep state. A deep state would be the idea of like a council of specific individuals who are determining everything, and that the actual government has no real power and they hold it all. But that's just not true.
Did what they usually do. They started leaking this classified information out to their friends at the Washington Post and others who are working hand in glove with the deep state to lay the groundwork for the assessment that they eventually released that served as the basis once again for this years-long coup with the goal of trying to subvert the American people's will and usurp President Trump from being able to deliver on
it. As you've probably learned, if you're an American, there are two types of Americans. Well, actually, sorry, no, not two types, three types. You've got the ones that bury their heads in the ground and don't want to pay attention to anything and just live their lives. Two, you've got the activists, whether they're extremists or just regular people protesting. And three, you have the casual people, such as myself, who view things at a surface level and don't read too deep into what people are saying because they're just reaching. You cannot tell me it's a deep state conspiracy. I just don't see how that's possible. A deep state insinuates the idea of a council of evil men sitting in a circle, or even men and women, who are determining every decision within the country. But that's just not the case. Because again, it just reminds me of rigged football things. How do you get 53 men to buy into it without spilling the beans? Someone's going to cave. Someone's going to state something. Like the situation with JFK was not a deep state thing. Somebody wanted him dead. It was probably someone in a position of power that didn't like what he was doing and followed through with doing it. That's it. If that's the case. I know Trump released the JFK report. I didn't read it. Didn't even see it. But if there really is a deep state, that would be the case.
On the mandate that the American people gave to him when they chose to elect him as president of the United States.
So you had career intel people that came to a conclusion that, in fact, Russia did not interfere, that it had no impact, and they didn't like the assessment, and they have this meeting with President Obama at the time, and they make the decision, a very conscious decision, to pervert real intelligence, turn it into phony intelligence, but also simultaneously something else was happening. And James Comey, for example, was warned about the Russian disinformation dossier that was paid for by Hillary Clinton. He was warned not to trust it, but it became the bulk of information for not one but 4 separate FISA warrants, ruined Carter Page's life, but also backdoored an ability for them to spy on President Trump, candidate Trump, and transition team Trump. Nobody was ever held accountable for that either. Now, to me,
the American government spies on every single person. No one is excluded. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing. Your cell phone, your computer, your microphone, even now with what I'm doing, they're always spying. They know everything that we've been doing, and it's just how it goes. You run the risk, if you do something, of it being recorded forever, and that's it. But it's not admissible in a court of law. I mean, the Patriot Act is probably the most disgusting piece of legislation ever created. But the point is, there is just endless spying. Everyone spies on everyone. I mean, people dox people because they don't like them. It happened to Ethan Klein of H3H3 with a dude sending a skull to his literal home. I mean, you have to ask the question that they're saying here that Trump is being spied on. I'm like, yes, every president is spied on. The president doesn't have absolute authority over who doesn't spy on him. Like, he can change CIA directors, he can change FBI directors, but at the end of the day, there's going to be separate units who don't report to them that are going to spy on them. I mean, I don't know what you expect. You're in the electronics age, man. People spy on everybody. Things are going to get exposed. We all have our dark little secrets we don't want exposed. But we run the risk of them getting exposed by being on the internet, by being on a cell phone, by being electronically wired to anything. This isn't some unknown thing. It's not illegal either because of the frickin' Patriot Act.
it sounds like you have appointed powerful bureaucrats that just flat out created a narrative that was false to undermine a duly elected president. Now, if that's not a...
They definitely did create a false narrative. There's no denying that. The Democrats have done everything that they can to get rid of Trump. And it's all failed because the guy just keeps on standing up and swinging. Keep in mind, this doesn't mean I like Trump. I like certain things that he's done, and I hate other things that he's done. Because you can like and hate. It doesn't have to be just one dimension. I hope people understand that. You don't have to be one dimension with your way of thinking. Open your mind up to multiple schools of thought Be well-rounded. Don't just be stuck in one side, because both sides may have an opinion, and one opinion could be better than the other. You don't have to forcibly agree. And to all the lovely ladies and gentlemen out there, you don't have to be a yes person. Don't be a yes person. Being a yes person, it's not a good way to go.
Grand conspiracy, I don't know what would be. Do you see crimes here?
I do, Sean, and I'm referring all of these documents that we have found and uncovered, referring them to the Department of Justice for further investigation. Accountability.
I'm curious if they're actually going to follow through with it, because it just seems like, to me, Trump's not going to have the DOJ focus on this. He probably won't, but I guess we'll see.
And action, not just investigation, but action. Accountability has to take place. The American people's ability to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic is literally what's at stake, and therefore the future.
They say that every time something like this comes out. It's the American people's trust in the American government is at stake. Trust me, the American people don't trust the federal government. They haven't for years. I'd say going back as much as the early 2000s, after 2001, when we saw we could actually be hit from the heart of our own country through a planned assault with 9/11. I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that this is a threat to the American people's way of life, because it's just not. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Of our ability to exist as the country that we know it. This accountability is critical to make sure that this never happens again. Exposing the truth and naming those who are responsible should drive that accountability that has to take place. I just want to mention quickly, Sean, you mentioned the Steele dossier. That plays a critical role in these documents that we released, specifically because James Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan, they all knew that the Steele dossier was discredited at this point. It's not something any intelligence professional looked to as something that could be referenced or should be referenced in any intelligence assessment whatsoever. I know that there were professionals who were told include the Steele dossier in this January Obama-directed manufactured piece of intelligence, and they protested to people like John Brennan and James Clapper. They were shocked that it would even be considered. The Steele dossier was used in this manufactured assessment that President Obama directed be created, along with many other pieces of intelligence that the intelligence community.
Now, I will say this. If Obama did push the narrative that Trump was colluding with Russia, that means it's made up. It would mean it's made up. It means he slandered an individual, which means he could be held liable. But, as we know, Trump is not going to sue Obama for doing that.
Itself, for months leading up to the election, said this is not credible and should not be used at all.
We've got to get to the bottom of this. I hope there are criminal referrals at the end of this. This investigation has got to be thorough, and I have every belief that we eventually, this is a big release today. Declassifying this is a big deal. I spent 3 years on this program unpeeling every layer of the onion, and the media just were used as propagandists, pushing a false conspiracy theory for 3 years.
I hate to tell you, but you're the media too. I mean, Fox is not exactly known for having fair coverage. Same with the NBC, ABC, and CBS. I mean, CBS has had its own fair share of serious issues.
And it did great damage to the country.
It did not do damage to the country. What did damage to the country is all the media outlets going for the fastest clicks and views by posting the hottest topics. It's no longer about doing proper research anymore. It's about who can get the story out the fastest. And that's where we are right now. I mean, if you go back from 2011 down, news coverage was not like it is now. It was about good people good reporters, doing proper research with information, and letting the public come to their own opinion on it. But it's not like that anymore. It's get the fastest video out as fast as possible in order to make sure that this is all out there and then we can get the fastest clicks and views. Even if it slanders somebody. I mean, there was a young kid, a young man who got slandered by multiple media outlets for wearing a Trump hat and having some guy singing a song, I think he was Native American or something, singing a song in front of his face. And he got slandered by ABC, CBS, and NBC, and multiple news outlets, and he sued them all. Most of them settled already. But then it was brought out recently that, maybe a few years ago actually, that the man who was singing in his face was apparently a known criminal who had a history of doing this and would do it just for attention and use this for that attention. And the kid did end up getting millions of dollars for suing these media outlets because they posted the fastest click views without no research, no information that was properly done, vetted information through vetted sources. They just went with whatever narrative was flying through the rails and getting the most views. That's where we are right now with the media. So, to put things in the light, don't be like that. Do proper research before you do something and say something. Okay, so that's it for this. I'm going to go and look up Habitable Line Crosser. I want to see if I can find that video on his Russian tanks. The Russian Bradley. Yeah, it's just destroying things. Tank Talk. I'm curious if it's one of these. Let's see.
It's all fun and games until the T-14 Armada shows up. And then it becomes a comedy show. You'll laugh now, but what will you do when the T-14 is staring at you? I don't know. Ask where the rest of them are? Ooh, that's a good one. Send the rest of my platoon to lunch. Take the tow missiles off the side to make it a fair fight. Turn off all my thermal sights to give you a chance. Throw tracks so you can keep up. See if I can get the world's first 360 no-scope in a tank. My word, Americans. Can I join in as well? It seems quite fun. Sure thing, buddy. I would say there's plenty to go around, but that would also be a lie. I would be very disappointed that there's not enough of you that I can't kill enough to become a tank ace.
That's impossible?
The spirit. It's all fun and games until the teeth.
Alright, I think it might be this one.
On behalf of America, I am playing very nice, Russia. But do not breach my airspace again. Or should they be intimidated that America's favorite little European lapdog is making threats? You keep pushing boundaries. You will find out exactly when you have gone too far. Oh, and when might that be?
When the winter sauce
Referring to our friendly F-22, I know there's a tank one. Let me see. Habitable Line Crosser, Russian tanks. Oh, I'm not seeing it. Is this it? No, I'm just not seeing it. Tank Talk? No, that's the same one we already saw. Nah. There's a really funny one. I think I might have liked it. Let me check my history. We're going to go to... Oh, actually, no. It's playlist. I would have liked it. Liked videos. It's like 861 likes. I don't like to like too much stuff. Liking too much stuff is just bad. Because it fills this up, and I wish I could delete this, but sadly you just cannot. Let's see. Yes, I'm very vain. I liked my own videos. Certain ones that I found funny. I want to see if I can find it, because I'm pretty sure I've got someone here. No. It would be way back when. This is at least a year old. Nope. Accidental clicks. Is this it? Let's see.
I'm not playing with you. I will blow that little black, gnarled, crusty, dead motherfucker the fuck off your...
Nope. That's not it either. Oh, it's somewhere, but regardless. I'm going to jump on his actual page. See if he's posted anything new. He's reached 781. He's getting there.
Oh my god. Man, I'm gonna have so much to teach you. I bet this is how Grandpa Buff feels.
Now mine's mostly disappointment and
Ooh,
rage.
excuse me.
Kid, who you talking to?
Oh, I got sent a new friend.
Oh, excuse me.
Many of his philosophies do not make sense logically. However, I was ordered to follow him indefinitely. So I must trust.
Holy shit, he act.
Yeah, we're officially making AI-built planes that are going to follow the F-22 and learn its maneuvering abilities.
So they did it. Uncle Sam, look, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life, man, but do you really think giving the kid AI wingman is gonna turn out well for anybody?
To be fair, there's gonna be some growing pains, but I gotta give him a shot. Oh, God forbid you give the flying computer an opportunity to do something like that. I could teach him reading, writing, arithmetic, tactics, understanding how G-force affects the human body. That thing could learn so much from me, but instead
he's learning how to be awesome. If he was with you, he'd probably grow canards by now.
I am programmed to support the jokes that...
I'm curious how Habitable Line Crosser HLC got that voice. Because that voice sounds so dry.
The raptor tells. Also, I have been informed that canards are a telltale sign of homosexuality in an aircraft.
I'm telling you, dude's picking it up quick.
Oh, man. Now I can't wait till I get a few. I'm gonna make so many racist drones.
Oh, it gets even better. What is your purpose?
The raptor is all-knowing and all-seeing. The raptor gifts me life on this plane of existence. I must do everything in my power to aid the raptor in his priorities. Priority 1, escape hangar. Priority 2, gain intercept. Priority 3, secure chicken nuggets.
So to be clear, in the story of HLC with his videos, the F-22 has been tied up in a hangar. And he's been trying to get out so he can get an intercept. An intercept meaning an actual shot to take down another plane.
If the raptor were to fail, I am to sacrifice myself so that the raptor may be eternal.
This is why they say power corrupts.
Power corrupts absolute.
You serious? We got a robo-cult already? I mean, if it scares us, it's damn sure gonna scare somebody else. And I'm sure that the powers that be are much smarter than I am who made this decision.
If it's the federal government, I wouldn't fucking count on that.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Anyways, Patriot, What up, boss? Prep 17 of your, well, 16 of your friends. 17 total. You're being sent to Ukraine. Ooh. Party time.
Just to note, Ukraine only has 2 active Patriot systems that we as the public are aware of.
Huge fourth wall break here. That's a lot. I worked
It
in air
is.
defense for a long time, and I can't think of a single country on this planet, I don't want to say how many of them are where, because I'm not sure if that's public information, that has 17 Patriot systems deployed at any given time. We have more than that, like, in the States, usually, like, training up for rotations, but 17, that's a lot. Plus, it takes about a year, give or take, for Raytheon to crank out one system. So I'll be real with you. I have no idea where these are coming from because we are short. Not saying like, you know, we don't have the ability to defend our assets. We do, but we don't have that kind of access. So I'm trying to figure out where they're all coming from.
Coming from somewhere.
Yeah, boss. We'll get those put together quickly. On a like America first type deal. We're really hurting and we're constantly deployed. Can we get some relief? Maybe some extra? Done. We're making 4 new Patriot battalions. 4 new Patriot battalions is 12 new systems, 3 new ICCs, and a shit ton of pieces of equipment. That's a lot. I'm not complaining.
Wartime.
It's better late than never. Thank you. Dead serious. Fucking thank you. Like, by far, every Ukrainian I've spoke to is incredibly thankful for this.
17 new systems. It doesn't matter. They can easily be taken out by cheap little drone.
Yeah, Russia has yet to take out any.
Then why haven't you?
I've destroyed tons of pieces of Patriot equipment. You're not paying attention. The videos are all over the internet.
Yeah, that's why they've been asking for missiles, right? To launch off of systems that you've already destroyed.
Yeah.
I have scoured the internet, and the only thing I can confirm is that either a launcher or a GMT, which is a guided missile transporter, it's a missile truck, have been destroyed. That's the only thing I can 100% confirm that I have seen destroyed of Patriot equipment. Everything else is grainy videos that aren't even in place as Patriot systems.
Just more Western propaganda. You lie about everything. It will have no effect on my special military operation, which has had little to no effect on me and my systems, and my equipment, and my people, and my economy. You put more sanctions, oh my god, whatever shall I do?
Yeah, it's definitely had no effect on you. Hey, what's that about a 30% decrease in oil revenue in June alone?
It's no big deal. The cost of oil goes up and down. 30% is nothing.
30% is nothing. Dude, we'd be eating our politicians if we hit 30% drop in oil price or in oil revenue in 1 month. Are you out of your damn mind? You know, hey, maybe we'll get a repeat, Cold War 2.0, and just, watch Russia collapse under the weight of their own failures. Yeah, it won't be too bad this time.
That is because the Russian Federation is stronger than the West. We take care of ourselves. I take care of my people.
Oh, right.
1 in 5 Russian citizens don't have access to indoor plumbing and running water. I mean, I guess if that's how you take care of your people, but I guess I have a very different definition of that. I don't know who created me. I don't know where I am.
Yep, the Ukrainians are doing it again.
I must kill Russians. I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about this war.
Yeah, the Ukrainians are teaching us things about how to war. And we're taking notes.
What is that? Oh, one of my new ground assault drones. It comes in, sets up a base of fire, and allows ground forces to maneuver on Russian trenches. It's been pretty effective.
I'll take 1,000. Oh shit, wrong way. I'll take 1,000.
Really, Poland?
Why? Do you think that's not enough?
No, I mean yes, but don't you think you have enough firepower?
Poland. Little European Texas.
You know this is why America makes fun of you. And maybe you haven't noticed, but I'm right next door to the front line of the special education military operation. Technically, he has some land above me. For now.
Also, I'm just gonna come right out and say it before anyone gives me a hard time, especially Beans on Toast. Yes, a retired Army officer who's currently a civilian for the United States Air Force is going to...
I better check. It looks like there might be dropped frames. To the creator dashboard, to the stream. Is it really down? I don't think it is. No, seems to be doing fine. Seeing everything flowing. All right, then we'll just go to the YouTube one. There you go. OBS is telling me there's dropped frames. Is YouTube down? No, it's still going according to this. Check my actual channel. Let's go to content. Let's go to live. Nah, still active. Live. Nah. Yeah, still active. I guess OBS is just saying drop frames for no reason. Back up to OBS. Nah, looks like it's functioning. Must have missed it. Well, back to this.
To jail because he was sharing secret information about the Ukrainian and Russian war on a dating website.
They get you every time, man. I understand.
Wow. Just wow. Tinder has hit a new low.
And that, but I live by a certain philosophy, right? There's this great philosopher from the late 20th century who said, bitches ain't shit.
Ah, damn. If it ain't War Thunder, it's Tinder. It's
War
almost like
Thunder
it
gets
begins
all
with
the
an
cool
R.
stuff.
You can just assume that Russians are there trying to get information. Man, what happened to the good old days when you just take a woman out? That's about it. That's about all I got.
Oh, excuse me.
It all went downhill when the fat ones started getting sassy, so people started talking to ones outside the country.
Buff! Damn it! Germany, hey! You're asking for some stuff? Yeah, we just want the Typhoon missile system from the United States. We've drafted up a potential
Germany's
contract.
arming up again.
And
People
we
are
need
worried.
the mid-range missiles so that Poland doesn't get hurt. And we can help defend you from here. We can shoot right over top of your entire country and into Russia if we need.
How's this gonna go over?
Get to ya. Same team. Brothers to the end, yeah? I know it's been 80 years, but I still don't feel right about it. Germany, normally I applaud you for being progressive, but did I hear this correctly that you've opened a cyber brothel? Well, it keeps everybody safe, the stings, they stay clean, and we just make sure that everybody is okay. Like, it could potentially affect any kind of assaults out there, and people would be able to just get that out of them in a controlled environment.
I don't know how I feel about that. This kind of goes off of the same logic that, like, Canada does with, safe injection sites. And they just get worse.
And worse.
Except you're injecting,
What is a brothel?
I don't know, I think it's somewhere they make bread.
Oh my god, that's a bakery! Can I tell him?
Don't you even think about it.
Anyways, so now what happens if you dishonor me?
If I dishonor the raptor, for example by taking an intercept, I must conduct self-interception to try and restore my family name.
Oh, damn, ritualistic suicide's making a comeback. Didn't see that one coming.
Yep, apparently it is.
Overall, not the greatest battle plan. Maybe at work for drone.
Completely off topic and especially not military related here, but America, what happened with Elmo on Twitter? Oh, yeah, the anti-Semitic Elmo.
Anti-Semitic
got
Elmo.
hacked. Not the best look for Sesame Street.
Oh, that was a hack? Ah, shit, I thought we were just kind of going all in. Capitalism and all that. I thought the next thing was gonna be Nazi me Elmo.
The buff. The B2 bomber will forever live forever. 70-year-old plane still beefing it up today. Oh boy. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream here. Oh, gonna stretch out, do some stuff. Have to make some video edits for some VODs. Yeah, that's about it. Appreciate everyone who stopped by and those that were interested or watching. I will be back here tomorrow, I believe, at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, that's about it. See you guys next time.